Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Ebony. I am a human design reader, expert, and coach. And today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. I mentioned in a previous video that I wanted to expand the area of which I create and provide content because I am not just a human design coach. I am actually certified in many different modalities. And at the end of 2023, I will be a certified love, sex, and relationship coach. And through my studies, through this program that I'm going through now, I am seeing so many correlations between human design and sexuality, human design and relationships. And I want to start exploring that more on my channel specifically, as well as with my clients. So you're going to be getting a lot more sexual, love, relationship-based content. So if you're interested in that, more will be coming, basically. So what we're going to be talking about today is the sexual response cycle. So what is the sexual response cycle? The sexual response cycle is the most widely used paradigm among sexologists currently, and it was developed by Masters and Johnson in the 1960s. This is essentially a methodology that shows when an individual gets sexually stimulated and engages in sexual activities like penetration, masturbation, visualization, fantasizing, daydreaming, things like that, there's a series of physiological and emotional shifts that take place. And those, physiological and emotional shifts are the stages of the sexual response cycle, are the things that happen in this particular cycle, essentially. And the reason why this is important, the reason why we're talking about this in the first place is because I have found a correlation between the stages of this cycle and the different energy types. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in the next slide. But I find it so interesting and so fascinating how two completely different modalities almost click together in a very cohesive way. And another reason why this is, kind of interesting to learn is understanding how and why your body reacts at each point in this cycle may actually improve your relationship and enable you to identify the root of any sexual stumbling blocks or problems or disappointments that you may be experiencing with yourself or with a partner. However, as we go through this video, this presentation, if you will, it's really important to keep in mind that this approach just takes into account the physical processes that your body is experiencing during stimulation. It doesn't take into account the cognitive, emotive, and divine or spiritual aspects, which are all equally crucial to be conscious of, but this cycle, this paradigm specifically, just focuses on those physiological aspects. So there are 4 stages of the sexual response cycle: excitement, plateau, orgasm, and resolution. Now, where it kind of connects with human design is in this first stage, this excitement phase. So I want to take a little bit of time and focus on that. If you've seen any of my videos on manifesting generators or generators, you know how important excitement is for these individuals. They are governed by their sacral center. If you have a defined sacral center, you are automatically a generator or a manifesting generator, period. That's it. So when I first learned about this, it got me thinking, okay, what is the correlation between arousal, stimulation, and manifesting generators and generators? And there's something that I've been learning it's called spontaneous arousal versus responsive arousal. So spontaneous arousal these are the people who can become excited, who can become, sexually aroused spontaneously, just out of the blue. They don't really have to see anything. They don't have to be around anyone. They just kind of get, they get sexually excited just spontaneously. Responsive arousal is when you see something. Your arousal is responsive. You saw something that excited you. You saw a person that made you feel aroused. Your arousal is in response to something that happened in your physical environment. As we know, people who do not have a defined sacral center, so projectors, manifestors, and reflectors, they take in and amplify the sacral energy of manifesting generators and generators. So my personal theory is that generators and manifesting generators have spontaneous arousal because they have a defined sacral center, because the sacral center governs sexuality and life force energy. They are the spontaneously aroused people. The non-sacral beings, the reflectors, the projectors, the projectors, and the manifestors are the responsive arousal people. So with this first stage of this cycle being excitement, we know that, well, in my personal theory, generators and manifesting generators play a huge part in this because excitement is what they're all about, because they are governed by that sacral center. So that's how that's how human design for me ties into all of this, which is why I want to talk about it so much on my channel, because you can view human design, you can view anything through the lens of human design, and that's what I want to show you here. So getting back to the actual stages. So the excitement stage is the foreplay stage. This is when dopamine is released by the brain and messages are sent to the vagina to boost the flow of blood. I also want to preface that I will be talking specifically about female sexuality. I am also getting certified in male sexuality, but I have not learned enough yet that I feel comfortable talking about it. But that will be coming soon as well. So just give me a minute, hold tight. Okay, so boost the flow of blood. I think that's the last thing I said. So this stage can persist for a very short amount of time, or it can last for a very long time. This stage, this foreplay stage, can actually begin, hours, days, or even weeks in advance. And interestingly enough, the majority of women require at least 20 minutes in this period. And this phase is where the polarity in long-term relationships kind of fade. The foreplay stage is usually the first one to go in long-term relationships. And this can be why a lot of women experience, not the most amount of pleasure that they could in sexual encounters, because they're just not taking enough time in this excitement stage. It's a really, really important part for female sexuality. And foreplay doesn't have to just be in the bedroom. It's excitement. It's literally excitement, that anticipation of something happening. So this could be how you prepare beforehand, sexting, sending pictures, things like that. That is considered foreplay. So it doesn't have to just be confined to the bedroom. And this is where I think long-term relationships really should take the time to explore what excitement, what foreplay looks like for you in your relationship, because it's such an important part. It's literally the first stage of the cycle. This phase is intensified by flirting, sexting, and other sexual cues. So really anything can be considered foreplay, can be considered this excitement, be considered in this excitement phase. So the next phase is the plateau phase. This is basically an expansion and an escalation of the first stage. This is where everything becomes more sensitive, more blood rushes, and swelling increases, your pulse goes up, your heartbeat starts to increase. This is also where the vagina begins to enlarge. So for those of you that don't know, I didn't know I didn't know this. There is a fold of peritoneum that joins the uterus edges to the pelvic floor and the pelvic walls. And this is called the broad ligaments. When it swells and tightens in this plateau phase, it pulls up on the uterus and makes the vagina bigger to prepare for penetration. This is again another reason why it is so important to spend an adequate amount of time in the excitement phase, because in this next phase is when the body is preparing for penetration. And this is where, a lot of women can experience pain, during intercourse, because they have not spent enough time in this first cycle. And when, you get to plateau, it's, things are not prepared. Things aren't where they need to be yet. So another reason why, make sure we're spending enough time in the foreplay stage. This is also where consistent and repetitive stimulation is a good idea. You want to be very consistent with whatever it is that you're doing. Jumping around and, trying different things is fine. But when you're getting to this plateau stage and you're trying to move to the next stage, which is orgasm, you want to make sure that you are being repetitive and consistent. So you can try new things. That's perfect. Like, you don't have to do one thing throughout the entire, intercourse. But when you are trying to move from plateau to orgasm, this is when you want to be consistent and repetitive in whatever it is that you're doing. And going from plateau to orgasm can take more time if there are interruptions. This could be cognitive interruptions. This could be interruptions in, your physical environment, like the kids wake up or, whatever. This is also where your five senses can actually heighten and intensify whatever feelings that you're having in that moment. So you want to be very conscious and aware of the feelings in your body, your partner's scent, the sound of your breathing, your own visual triggers, and you want, as much as possible, to stay out of your head, because this plateau stage is when a lot of women can get caught up in their mind and these intrusive thoughts that can keep them from experiencing pleasure and moving to the next phase, which is orgasm. So this is really where you want to make sure you're focusing on the moment. You're being very present and allowing the pleasure to be at the forefront of your mind, rather than, oh, I'm taking too long. Oh, this, I have to wash the dishes. Oh, did I leave the oven on? Things like that. So moving on to the orgasm phase, which is a little self-explanatory, but we'll go over it anyway. This is when the muscles of the pelvic floor engage, and depending on the type of orgasm, it will feel different. Like, not every orgasm is the same. There are many different types of orgasms, and we'll probably go over that in a different video. But depending on which one you are experiencing in that moment, the sensation will feel different. Challenges of getting to this stage can include self-consciousness, doubting your own right to pleasure, doubting your own right to enjoy yourself, or feeling weird about things, feeling like, your body is weird, or you're making weird noises, or weird things are happening. Hello, humans as a whole, we're kind of weird. Some of the things that happen in our body, they're kind of gross. So, it's normal and it's natural. And you're not the only one that it's happening to. You're not weird. You're not abnormal. Your body does what it does. So this is where mindset work can kind of come into play. And you can work on this when you're not in intercourse, just in your daily life, accepting your body how it is, accepting that it does what it does. I think that's all I wanted to say for orgasm. Like I said, it's a pretty self-explanatory stage of the cycle. And then if there's no more stimulation, if you're not, going back to plateau and orgasm again, which you can, after orgasm doesn't have to be the end. Sometimes it is, it depends on what the situation is specifically. But after orgasm is resolution. So if there's no more stimulation, this phase will start directly after the orgasm phase. This is when the spasms subside and you feel an intense state of pleasure and serenity, and your body goes back to normal, back to the way that it was before the stimulation. This is also when it's a really good idea to build that connection, build intimacy with your partner through snuggling or cuddling, physical touch, talking to each other. What didn't you like? What did you like? Specific things that happened during the encounter that you can use for, the next time. This is where that intimacy can really be built and the connection between you and your partner can be strengthened. So that is the sexual response cycle. That is my personal interpretation of how it connects with human design, how sexuality makes itself known through the lens of human design. There's also other things, like there's a whole gate in human design, the gate of sexuality, which is gate 59. There's a channel of mating, which is when gate 59 connects to gate 6. There's tantric channels, which connect the sacral center to the G center. There's so many different areas of sexuality that can be explored through the lens of human design, and I'm so excited to do all of that with you here. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment. Let me know if you like this content, if you like this style of video, and I will see you all in the next one.